Do you struggle at the holidays with the death of a family member and don't know how to resolve it and move forward, and worry that you're going to keep eating out of control or spending out of control because you miss them so much? Turn something that's so hard and difficult into something that is going to make your family and your life a lot stronger than you ever thought possible. I'm Dara Thomason, and this is Love Yourself Thin, episode 229. So welcome to the podcast where you finally learn how to resolve the great dilemma of knowing exactly what you should eat or do to be healthy, but still finding yourself at 10 p.m. with a half-eaten pint of ice cream. If you've been struggling for years or decades, you're in the right place because you're smart enough to know this isn't about learning one more diet plan. It's about fixing the thinking problem underneath. You know what you're supposed to eat. You know you should move your body, drink water, eat, get enough sleep. You do have a strong desire to do these things, but then you don't do them. Day after day, month after month, year after year, and now you've lost trust with yourself. Your confidence is gone. You don't have a knowledge problem. You have a thinking problem. After 25 years of struggling with my own weight, I finally cracked the code of emotional eating, and I've lost over 50 pounds and kept that off since 2019. Now I help women just like you resolve this great dilemma of knowing what you should do, but then not following through. So even at our age, because yes, you can teach an old dog new tricks. Let's jump into today's episode all about how to not let death of a family member or friend sabotage your holidays, along with your own mental and physical health goals. We're going to understand what is really going on, dive into what to do with all those emotions that you weren't taught to deal with, and practical tips and strategies that can help you become a stronger person afterwards. Not only from my own lived experience, but helping hundreds of women that experience this very thing. It's something we don't talk enough about. All right, let's go into this episode. I want you to think about what's really going on with the death of a loved one in the holidays. So just as we know, we have associations to things. We have the famous example of Pavlov's dogs, where he would ring a bell and then introduce food. We did that enough times that those dogs knew, I hear that bell, I'm going to eat. So they start to salivate and they start getting excited. This happens on my uncle's farm. It was so funny to watch. The cows would hear the tractor and just all started walking because they knew the tractor had hay and that they would release that hay along this long strip, and they knew it was eating time. We're trained the same way. We have marketing geniuses out there, and they know that we love sugar because when we eat a lot of sugar, our body gets a dopamine release, false pleasure, and then the more we eat of it, we need more and more of it to get that same level of high. A lot of the marketing is around the Christmas holidays, having memories, all of that. When you think about just even as a evolution of humans, sugar and refined flour, those were very, very special commodities. Back in the day, to have a candy cane or even to have an orange was very, very special. I think about my own grandma, and she was telling me about her Christmas. She had 4 brothers and they didn't have a lot. She got one doll that her mom made. For 1 year of Christmas, she got an outfit for her doll, 1 or 2 outfits maybe. An orange and a couple of candies in her stocking. That was about it. It was very rare. And so what's happened, of course, is that we have this evolution of now we have sugar easily. We have all these crazy refined foods. What was well-meaning of having that little orange and those candies in the stocking is just exploded. The reason I share that is that sugar and refined flour, it's like Pavlov's dogs. It's a way for us to celebrate. We're allowed to eat all the sugar, and it's a way for us to provide. However, what are the true connections? I would get the lifesaver boxes, and my grandpa Mike always had lifesaver packages in his pocket. So when I taste that butterscotch lifesaver, I have memories of my Grandpa Mike, who was a very gentle and sweet soul. And I can feel nostalgic. I can feel sadness. I can feel all those feelings. We've been marketed to. It's just the way it is. One of the tricky parts about the holidays is that we have these, just like with Pavlov's dogs. Did you know they had to decondition those dogs? Otherwise, as soon as those dogs heard bells, even years later, they would start to salivate. So we have to decondition. And so one of the challenges, and that's why I'm really excited you're listening to this podcast, because we're going to learn how to decondition ourselves. And you're thinking, okay, Dara, let's talk about the death of a family. This is where I'm getting at. So, for example, with my Grandpa Mike, he's been gone now for 24 years. But you better believe it, every time, even if I smell butterscotch, I will think about my Grandpa Mike. So food, excuse me, food is now very associated to the people. If we have a death of a family member, and there are a lot of deaths before and after Christmas. If we have that association of maybe a loved one died December 22nd, or maybe on the 27th of December, or whatever days in that time, we have the associations of the happy memories with them. And then we have the association of the death of them. And it feels very confusing. How can I still feel joy? How can I still feel happiness when I miss them so much? And the death was it's tragic. It's really, really hard. Even if you have a religious background, it still doesn't mean you're not going to miss them. It still doesn't mean you're not going to have all those memories and have all of those times where you just feel that sadness. So that's the first part that I really wanted to tease out. It's like a ball of wool that's really tangled. So we have enmeshed food with love in so many ways. And in fact, it's so interesting because there's times where my mom will say to me, well, aren't you going to serve this thing at Christmas? And sometimes my mom will go and say, I need to make this carrot pudding with this caramel topping because that's what her mom did, right? So my mom and her mom died when I was 7 years old. I don't have a ton of memories. I have good memories of her. It's interesting to watch my mom trying to put her family memories because there are ways for her to feel connected. And that's okay. She's allowed to do all of that. And so that's what we're going to really learn today is food and family are super connected. And we're going to separate that. So that is one of the things that I do inside my program with my clients. I help them see what the role of food is for them and make a job description, and then what the role of relationships, friendships, family dynamics, how they want to show up in the world, and how these food items, all of this it's not happening to you. You can actually decide. I remember asking one of my clients, if a doctor said to you, I am sorry, you cannot eat for a month. We have to do this thing and you'll get these injections to give you energy, etc. But you can't eat any food for an entire month. And unfortunately, it's from December 10th to January 10th. So I say this to my clients, and then I ask them, would you still be able to have a good holiday? Would you still be able to have a nice Christmas, even though you weren't able to actually eat food? You just have to drink this Boost or something. I don't know. Don't drink Boost, by the way. And it's really interesting for them to have to do the mental gymnastics of, I could still enjoy those connections. And just think it's actually not about the food. It's about being with the people. It's like, I don't drink alcohol. I can enjoy the holidays. I've never done that before. So it's not part of my tradition. Next episode, we're going to talk about you can't go cold turkey with food. So that's going to be a really good one for you to listen to. Okay, so that's the first one. Food and family memories are combined. Second, you're going to miss them. And unfortunately, we weren't really taught how to feel our feelings. If you were never really allowed to feel sad in your society, your culture, your family, then it feels really confusing to know what to do with that sadness. And so my recommendation is to learn how to be with that emotion. When you're feeling sad, you can put two hands on your heart, press, and say, I understand you're feeling sad. It's totally appropriate. There's a picture of my grandma, Hazel, with my Owen, my third son, just a cute little baby. Every time I look at that picture, I get a little teary because my two younger boys never got to know her in person. So that's an appropriate emotion. It's appropriate to feel sad that my boys didn't get that experience. And that is allowed. When you see the injustices in the world, that's an appropriate emotion. If something happens that's terrible, you want to be disgusted or whatever that is, because that emotion is appropriate for that situation. We don't need to be afraid of emotions. All right. So the third thing is, so feel your mesh difference between food and the person. I don't ever have to make carrot pudding and I can still love and honor my Grandma Mary. Just let yourself get in the practice of feeling your feelings. You listen to this podcast, all about the important feeling is just, they come from our thoughts, they're vibrations in our body. What do you do with that sadness? Sadness gives us clues. Sadness says, I miss that person. I'm sad that they're not here. Well, what are you sad about? Are you sad about not having, being able to pick up the phone and just talking to them? Are you sad that you're not getting their wisdom? Are you sad that you're not getting that back and forth love? When I have 3 kids who have gone to serve missions for my church. And the rules of the mission is you talk once a week. And it was really challenging for me because I just want to talk to my kids whenever. And so when I would get sad, I would just let myself, because I miss that connection. I miss that interaction. I miss being able to, for example, with my daughter, I'd be like, do you like this outfit? Is this a good fit? We would just have these fun interactions. I just miss those connections. So that gives you clues. Now, I want you to write down what you miss about not having that person in your life anymore. Do you miss those phone conversations? Do you miss the wisdom? This is giving us clues. So the more that you direct your brain to look at that, then you could say, oh, no wonder. I can't change what's happened. They're passed away. But I can fill my life. There's a void, right? Food becomes the filler of the void. We don't want that anymore. The effect of filling those emotional voids with food are very detrimental, right? Different cancers, type 2 diabetes, lack of mobility, lack of energy, brain fog. There's lots of consequences of carrying all this extra weight on our bodies. Write those down. Now you get to be proactive and say, what do I want to do to fill that void? How am I going to do that? The last episode, I shared Susan Jeffers' 9 categories of different ways that you can focus your attention. Hobby, connections, contribution, relationships, family, physical health. There's lots of different categories that we can explore. Travel, language, and that actually also can be a problem, right? Because it become overwhelming. All right. So I'm going to share some examples that I have seen work really well, because what we're really wanting to do is, as we talk about filling the void, we want to honor our family. We want to honor those experiences and we want to pass those forward. So in my family, my grandma and grandpa on my mom's side died when I was 7 and 8. My grandma died. She actually had a heart attack at 64. And my grandpa's like, I ain't living without her. So he basically drank himself so that his liver was shot, and he was true to his word. My other grandparents, they actually died. My grandpa was 89 and my grandma was 93. I had them for a lot longer in my life and lots of different experiences. And what my dad decided to do is they were really into golfing and bowling, curling for Thanksgiving. One year we had this epic Thanksgiving experience where we thought we were having the traditional turkey dinner, but my grandma and grandpa were overwhelmed with making a big turkey dinner. And so they thought, we're just going to go for Chinese. But they didn't tell us. It was a very strange experience where we all of a sudden just show up at a Chinese restaurant and have all this Chinese food at Thanksgiving. And I remember driving home and it was such a surprise. We thought, can we have Thanksgiving dinner without a pumpkin pie? We stopped at a gas station and bought a pumpkin pie, which we would never do. And then my mom the next day made a turkey dinner. But so my dad decided that he wanted to honor his parents by having the bigger kids and adults go golfing, and the younger kids and moms would take the kids bowling. One group was golfing, one group was bowling, and then we all met together and we went to a Chinese buffet and we'd have a big Chinese dinner. And then either my sister or my sister-in-law would host afterwards, and we'd have pumpkin pie. It was a wonderful tradition. And the fun thing is my dad had a hat from my grandma, and then he had this green jacket from my grandpa. So whoever won the bowling got the hat for that year, and whoever won the golf got to have the coat. This was an amazing example of how do we honor? And so we called it the Mike and Hazel Bowie. We did that in their honor. So my kids know them better, and it's a great memory. I have another client whose father passed away right before the holidays. He was an avid photographer and has so many photos and slides and everything. And so something that she has been doing is that she has her daddy-daughter time, and she goes through those pictures and organizes them and honors him in that way. And so when she's with those photos, it's like she's building her relationship, because our relationships are always our thoughts about people. The more that we can honor them in the way that we think, how we want to, is always going to be a great benefit. So I generally share a client win at the beginning of my podcast, but I wanted to share it at the end because as we think about our lives, what's fascinating about being a life coach is that we picked up all the rules from our society, from our family. Now we have all sorts of things like TikTok and YouTube and different influences. What I am here to help you with is I'm here to help you learn, how do you want to influence your own life and how do you want to be empowered? So I have a client who her husband lost his job and she got the news that she needed a hip replacement within 24 hours. And ironically, 4 years ago, I was working with her as well, and her husband lost his job. She's a completely different person. The way that she handled it, the way that she worked through it, all of that has made such a huge difference. And one of the reasons I wanted to share that in this episode is that even though she's 65 or something, the way that she's changing, the way that she's evolving is she's actually living a legacy for her children and her grandchildren. She is living as an example to them. She is showing them, just like my grandpa Mike, my grandpa Jack, they influence me. Though obviously my grandpa Jack, not his best choice of drinking so much that he died within a year of my grandma dying. I can learn from that, right? I can use that to my advantage, but there's the consequence of it. And so the more that we can look at our own lives and honor our life and look at it in the bigger picture, the more that we can do for good. One of the biggest disservices I see women say is, it's selfish for me to take care of myself. That's one of the biggest lies. Because the more that you can be healthy here And here in your brain and in your body, the ripple effects, everyone benefits. Even my kids' friends benefit from me doing this work. I have a lot of younger kids follow me on Instagram and want to continue to have that influence because they love feeling that hope and encouragement from me. It's so magnetic. They want that. They need that. We all need genuine connections. So if you are struggling and want to feel more connected and happier in your life, there's two main things if you really want to go to the next level. One is my emotional eating class geared for the holidays. I've had great reviews. It's been going crazy over there. It's awesome. I'm also teaching a course that you're going to really look at why are you so afraid of making goals? And the problem is you say in January, you know what, I'll start in January. But the thing is, you start in January, every January, but you don't actually have practical tools to help you change. So I also have that class happening. You can check those out in the description below. Thank you so much for coming here and spending this time with me. And I would love to hear any of your family honoring stories. Let's get them out there. People need more inspiration and guidance. All right, take care. If you know what you should do, but you can't figure out why you keep falling short, that's the dilemma, isn't it? You have all the knowledge, you know the steps, but something keeps you from following through. That's exactly what we resolve in Love Yourself Thin, my lifetime membership for quilters and creatives, because you don't have a knowledge problem, you have a thinking problem, and that's what we're here to solve. When you join Love Yourself Thin, you get lifetime access to the tools to help you understand why you do what you do so you can finally create permanent weight loss. No more frustration, no more wondering what's wrong with you, just real transformation from the inside out. You can learn more and join at www.darathomason.com. This is where the real work happens. Can't wait to see you there.